Hi everyone, Robin here from Gardening with Mama Bird. Today I want to try to figure out where I want to plant some plants that I went and purchased at the nursery with no intentions on buying anything or having any plans of what I might need for the garden. Just a side trip to the garden center and I see some plants and I'm like, oh, I got to have that. And I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'm going to get it. So let me show you. I have a few little piles of those, and over this next few days, I hope to find a place for them in my garden. I think the first things that I want to look at getting in the ground are those that are in the smaller 4 and 6 inch containers because I'm finding that I have to get out here and give them water every day. So while I'm at work, they don't dry out. I'll probably mutilate the name, the Saxifraga. The tag does say it can take full sun, but I think in zone 9B, it's going to need some shade in the hot afternoon if I want to keep it looking nice. And I actually purchased 7 of those. I have 3 right here and off at a distance because I'm not sure where I want to put them. I placed a few over there, but I'm not sure those are going to get enough shade. Then over here in this garden bed, I bought some daisy type flowers, and these can tolerate the full sun. I had some out in the sun a couple years ago and they did well. And I really adore the little colors in this that are kind of a peachy tone. They start out a brighter color and then they fade. And this garden bed in here, let me show you, is on the north side of my house. And from this side this way, it gets a lot of shade. This way, it's mostly sun. Right now, because of the time of the year it is, it's getting a little bit more shade in the early afternoon. As the days go on and we get closer to summer, this area right here becomes more full sun. So sometimes I have a little bit of a time finding something that can go in this area with so much sun and heat that will tolerate it. In the past, I had the Swan River daisies that did really well, and this was a complete full area of them. But as you can see, some of them have not made it, and some have refurbished themselves a little bit. But I want to dress this area up with some more color and a little bit more height. And one of the things I really liked about this one, but it's not going to be up against it, is I really like these colors next to that Angelina. I just think the color combination is wonderful. Before we get started, I wanted to show you that I typically use the plant tone as my fertilizer from Espoma, but I recently was at Costco and I found this other product that I thought, oh, I would like to give that a try. So I'm going to give this a try. It's Impact Organics and it's worm castings. And if you read on the back here, it says encourages root growth, improves soil structure, is naturally odor free, which is a good one for me, and it's non burning. So it's good for flowers, gardens, indoor plants, and shrubs. So I thought for this area, it might be fun to see how worm castings do with your flowers in the garden. So that's what I'm going to work on in this area. I'm going to use the worm castings, and I'll probably use it in other areas and watch over time to see how they do with this type of um, soil nutrient or plant nutrient. I just opened the bag and I expected it to be thicker. It's very fine. It's almost finer than a coffee ground, and there is no odor to it. That's what I'll be adding to provide additional nutrients to the plants. I can tend to be a little bit of an overthinker as far as where my plant placement goes. I can measure 10 times and then in the end still not be happy, but that's how we start out. So these grow about 16 inches high and wide. So I'm going to plant them looking on center and make sure that they have an appropriate amount of spacing. Okay, I think I have it how I want it. I didn't want a drift that was like a U-shaped, either this way or this way. I wanted a little bit of a I don't know what you would call, right now it looks like a zigzag, um, but just something different. And I'm not always all about low to high. I like it in the garden when there's a little bit of pop of something high and then a little bit of mystery or something behind. So some of these Swan River daisies, these little purple ones, I may have to dig out and move depending on, well, like this one, I'm going to put it right where that one is. So I'm going to move that one. Look, even with all the amending I've been doing, I still have quite a bit of clay. Make sure I turn it to where the flowers are facing where I like them. And I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to dig each of the holes. And before I bury them back in, I'm going to make sure I like the placement on all of them. Okay, here's a bird's eye view, and I think I like the way it's looking, but I'm also thinking I may remove the Swan River daisies and place them up here where it gets complete full sun in the afternoon and everything cooks over there, but they can tolerate that. So I think I'm going to dig these out here, and then I'll shop for something else that complements the colors in the little daisy flowers to go along the front here. I may even extend this a little bit because it's free. And if I ever change my mind, which I often do, actually, I do a lot, I can dig it out and not feel guilty. So that might be another option for me. So in the meantime, I'm going to cover these in with soil, and I don't know if I have any fir mulch left, but I may top dress them with some fir mulch or stop by the nursery on my way home from work and get some more to do that. Okay, I've pulled out the Swan River daisies. I think I have one more if I need it that I can dig up and put over here. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little drift that goes right here between the astramaria and over here by the lamb's ear. These get pretty big. I cut these back a lot. Um, I mean, before spring, and it was the hardest prune that I've done on them since they've been in here. So they all look nice, a bunch of little baby lamb's ear, and they look nice and lush right now, but it will get quite a bit larger. So that's why I think I'm just going to put the little drift in there and see how it works out. So I think while I'm out here after work, this is well overdue for a trim job, and I want to do it before it gets warm. So let's see if we can find the spiral boxwood within this bush. So I'm back and ready to plant the rest of this little garden bed area up. I went to Green Acres over the weekend and I found some purple verbena that I wanted to underplant the daisies with. And I think that'll go together very well. I love the contrast here. This verbena, it gets anywhere from 8 to 10 inches tall, and it can take full sun and it grows really well. I have planted in this garden bed. In fact, the bed behind me, the whole thing was planted as an under planting of Verbena tapion, and I loved it. I mean, I was so obsessed with it for a while. But the longer that it was in my flower beds, the more I had to deal with powdery mildew. And over time, it was just too much work to keep up to keep the powdery mildew away. So I pulled it all out. And this is my go-to verbena now. So I'm hoping, because these daisies only get about 16 inches tall, these 8 to 10. So there'll be some layering with it, and you can see the different colors. So let's get these in the ground. I finished up the flower bed and buttoned everything up. I didn't video when I put the top dressing on, but I want to show you, if you stick around, I have a little something that I'll show you that has worked well, and I just recently tried it out. But slugs love verbena. I mean, they love verbena. And you might see little snail lines or slug lines over the top of them. And probably for the most part, you don't see slugs in the garden because they burrow under maybe a wet pot, some rocks, or just under the soil where you don't see them like you do snails. And so you're not really aware that they're out in the garden, and they come out at night and they munch on your plants. So this little tip at the end is going to help you out. But let me show you what it looks like. So here it is. And yes, it's in the afternoon late. Actually, it's early evening. And so I don't have a great deal of sun, but the top dressing really makes everything pop. I moved the Swan River daisies that I dug out from the other end and put them in there. I'm really liking that. The lamb's ear is coming in. Pretty soon it'll be a large drift, and all of this lamb's ear actually came from cuttings from my mother's garden, and it just took over really well. And here's what I planted: the verbena and the daisies, and I just am in love with the color tones and can't wait till they fill in. And on the way over to the boxwood that I trimmed, I want to show you the hydrangeas are starting to push out a few blooms. And these are pink. I'm super excited for those to grow. That shrub is a smaller one. I don't recall the name of it. If I can find it, I'll put it up on the screen. And look, I did find the shape, or somewhat of the shape. It's not perfect, but the boxwood looks so much better trimmed. I may trim a little bit more on them, but I was trying to be careful and not overdo it. And this one over here looks good too. Now you can see a big open area, and that actually is not from me trimming, but that's when I had an infestation of mites, and it's recovered, so I'm super thrilled with that. Here it is from this angle of the garden. And before I show you my little tip and what I'm going to do, because I think it's a great time to do in the evening, is I want to show you a close-up of these little daisies. I just love the color. And then the verbena down below. Once those grow in, I just think it's going to be gorgeous. So let me show you my little tip that I'm going to do. Okay, here it is. I did not realize that slugs and snails love beer. Me, I don't like beer. I don't drink beer. I don't like the smell of beer, but I'm fine with making those slugs happy. Well, let me show you how I'm going to put it in the garden. And the first time I tried it, I did it in the evening because I know they like to come out at night and sneak around and munch on things. So let me show you where I'm going to put them. So I'm going to come over here and find a little spot that maybe is not as noticeable, but I take these little canning lids that I have and tuck them in by the plants, and then I pour a little bit of their yummy treat in there. Let me take you over to an area in the garden on some other verbena where I can actually show you some slug lines going through the plant. If you can see a couple spots right here, you can see where they've been sliding through the plant, so I know that they're out in this area wanting to munch on this plant. So I'm going to put a lid here, fill it with a little bit of beer, and they can have their little party tonight. I think I put one over here. Oh, I guess I'm not going to be putting any beer in that one right now because someone is using it as a little bed. So I'll hold off on that right now, and I'll go find another place to put a few lids. Let me go over to a Peruvian lily, or Astromeria, which is an attraction to slugs and snails, and you can see they've already been munching on it. So I have a little lid in the back there that I just cleaned out. So we're gonna pour a little bit in that lid. So I think you've got the idea. Just walk around and look to see if you can find any evidence of snails or slugs, and place those lids near the plant, fill it with beer, and then you'll come out the next morning and I'll show you a picture on the screen of my lids filled with slugs. I was so happy to see that because I don't want all my plants munched on. So thanks for joining me, and have a great day, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.